Okay, thank you, Prabhuji, for the nice Kirtan. Welcome back to the third session. Hopefully, we'll cover few chapters today. Let's see. So, yesterday we discussed how the living entity gets bewildered by his senses and materialistic intelligence, and then uh, with the help of his senses, he tries to enjoy various type of so-called material enjoyment. Is simply interaction of matter with matter, dead matter with dead matter. So we discussed that. That was the last discussion we had. And today we'll continue with this chapter. A few verses are there. We'll continue and then we'll hopefully go to the next two chapters. Okay. So please read.
According to the Vedic conclusion, oneself is situated within the heart. As stated in Vedic language, Hridayam Atma Pratishtahi. The self is situated within the heart. In the material condition, however, the spirit soul is covered by the material qualities, namely goodness, passion, and darkness. And within the heart, these three qualities react. For instance, when one is in goodness, he feels happiness. When one is in passion, he feels satisfaction through material enjoyment. And when he is in darkness, he feels bewilderment. Bewilderment is called moha, illusion. Illusion by society, friendship, and love. The living entity thinks that his so-called society, friendship, and love, nationality, community will give him protection. Everyone who is not in Krishna consciousness must be considered to be in illusion. One's so-called feelings of happiness and satisfaction resulting from material things are also illusions. Therefore, unless one surrenders completely at the lotus feet of Krishna, he cannot get out of the entanglement of the three modes of material nature.
Yeah. So this is obvious. So Maharaj has been giving class on surrender for the past 2 days, and he has very elaborately analyzed this concept of the different aspects of surrender and the importance of surrendering to Krishna, that why one should surrender to Krishna. So here, the mind is called as Vishuchinna. That's a private home. It's called as private home. Why it is called as private home? Why is called as private home? Yes. Unless you yourself reveal your mind to someone, nobody knows what you're thinking. Like so many of you are sitting here. I'm also sitting here. No one knows what I'm thinking. And I don't know what you people are thinking. Different people may be thinking of different things. But I don't know what is going on in your mind. Different things may be going on. So it's called as private home. Because unless one's mind is revealed by himself, it's very difficult to find out what is happening in one's mind. So there, illusion, happiness, and satisfaction and happiness were produced in that private home. And illusion was produced by mode of ignorance. Satisfaction was produced by mode of passion. And happiness was produced by mode of goodness. And living entity, he goes through all these things. He keeps going through. Sometimes he's very bewildered. Sometimes he's very satisfied. Sometimes he's very happy. These things are going on. And we know these things. We have studied this different type of happiness in mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, everything we have studied in Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada makes this point that everyone who is not Krishna conscious should be considered under illusion. Should be considered illusion. It's very important. So to the extent we are Krishna conscious, we are in touch with reality. To the extent we are not Krishna conscious, we are in illusion. So speaks about surrender. That we have to surrender. So then, so this way, he became the object of fulfilling all the desires of his queen. Prabhupada says that, however, the difficulty is that unless one becomes most obedient servant of his wife, the family life becomes disturbed. In Western countries, this system gives rise to divorce law. And in Eastern countries like India, there is separation. Now this disturbance confirmed by the new introduction of divorce law in India. Because that time divorce law was getting introduced in India. So it's a new introduction of divorce law in India. This is it's a new introduction. Divorce is not natural. We discussed this a little bit. Divorce is not, I thought Maharaj also discussed this point, I think so, right? Yeah. In his class, he also discussed this point, that divorce is not natural. Why divorce is not natural? You know why it is not natural? What is the problem? They go to court, they get a paper, and the paper says you are divorced. It's natural. Why it is not natural? Huh? Not in the heart happens. Okay, not in the heart is happening with so many things. Krishna Rupa Mataji, you want to say something?
Guruji, both have, high expectations from each other and both want to enjoy and they don't want to keep Krishna in the center and
No, we are not asking what is the reason for divorce. I asked why divorce is not natural. I asked the question why divorce is not natural.
because in Shastras there is nothing as divorce.
Okay, but in law it is there.
But we are following Shastras, Prabhuji. Obviously, we are following laws as well. But
So for those who follow law, divorce is natural. For those who follow Shastra, divorce is not natural. Is that your argument?
yes, Prabhu.
Okay, good. Okay. Understood. Okay. Yeah. So let me give an example. Okay. Does egg of an horse exist? Does it exist? Egg of a horse.
No.
Does it exist? Krishna Rupa Mataji, does egg of a horse exist?
No, Prabhu, no.
Okay. So there's a country. In that country, there's a government. The people who are running that government, they all get together and then they make a law that tomorrow onwards in our country, the egg of a horse will exist. They make a law like that. Will egg of a horse come into existence in the country? Will it come into existence?
No.
Huh? No. Okay. So that country has a court. In that court, there's one judge and he passes one order. According to this order, there is egg of a horse. Will egg of a horse exist? Will it exist? Krishna Rupa Mataji, will it exist?
No, not at all, Prabhu.
No. Why? Now, according to people who accept the law of the country, egg of the horse should exist, according to your argument. Because the law has been passed, the court has given judgment that egg of a horse is existing. So according to your logic, it should start existing now. Will it exist?
No, because the horse does not have the capability only to.
Lay egg, correct? That's the point. The horse does not have a capability to lay egg. A very simple point. Same way, human beings don't have the capability to undo a marriage. Just like horse does not have a capability to lay egg, human beings do not have capability to undo a marriage. According to any religious system, a marriage is considered as yajna or sacrifice. Any religious system. Whether you take Christian, Hindu, Muslim, for everyone, marriage is a religious ceremony. And what are the aspects of marriage? The aspects of marriage is a man and woman are publicly brought together. They take some vows, and that vows are sanctified by celestial witnesses, by chanting of certain mantras, whether it is English mantra or Arabic mantra or Sanskrit mantra. So if you want to undo, you have to go through the same process. What is that? You should have a method to call witnesses. You should have specific diverse mantras. Om Diversaya Namaha. Idam diverse. Like that, you should have some mantra. Hey, what happened? No internet. Internet chala gaya. वापस आ गया. Okay. So something idam diverse samarpayami, something like that. Some mantra you should chant. And then there should be diverse witnesses. You should call witnesses for diverse. Nothing. Not available. Not available. But is it possible to break the bond between a man and woman who is husband and wife? Yes, it is possible to break. When it is broken, it is naturally broken by death. At the time of death, in civilized population, what they do? They have mantras. They call witnesses. And then they tell the departed soul, see, we have called all these witnesses. And in front of these witnesses, we are cutting your bondage from this family. They cut the bondage at the time of Antyeshti. They cut the bondage. They say, okay, now you are cut off. You go and join with the Pitru. Whenever there is some good ceremony, we'll call you. You come and give blessing and then run away. Don't stay here. Till the time, because you are part of our family, we'll give you some water and till. Eat this water and till and be happy. This official cutting off ceremony is there. Official cutting off ceremony is there. So death becomes a natural end to that relationship. That's one possibility. What is the other possibility? Yes, when the man takes sannyas. They follow the same process. They have some particular fire which is invoked for giving sannyas. They say, they declare this man as dead. You are a dead man. They do his final rites. The sannyasi is a dead man. Khatam karo usko. And then the sannyasi takes new set of vows. And then in front of new set of witnesses, he takes new set of vows. And then he accepts sannyas, danda and everything. Then he may be married man. He has taken sannyas. Now he cannot say, the sannyasi cannot say, oh, now I have become sannyasi, this is my wife. He cannot say. He cannot say, oh, this is my child. He cannot say. What he has to say? What he has to say? Purvashram, wife. Purvashram, child. That was a different person. He was in a different ashram. His wife, his child. Not my wife, not my child. So there is way to undo a marriage, either by death or by sannyas. There is no other way. So whether it is people who accept law, scripture, or whether it is people who don't accept scripture, if they divorce, what happens? They are still husband and wife. So divorce gives an illusion that marriage is undone. Is never undone. In this lifetime, they are husband and wife. It's a very dangerous thing. That's why Prabhupada says that we should not make any law on our own. We should simply rule the country by scripture. Because if you make law like this, after 50 years, you may not be surprised that they will say that it is illegal to have child. They may pass a law like that. It is illegal to naturally conceive a child. Make a law like that. They can make. Kali Yuga capable of doing all these things. So there's no divorce. There's no divorce. It doesn't exist. Just like horse's egg doesn't exist even by making a law or by giving a judgment. Horses will never exist. Same way, divorce will never exist. It will never exist. It cannot be there. So we should be clear about these things. So that means if a man marries a divorced woman, then what he has done? He is living with another man's wife. It's not that by getting divorced, this woman has suddenly become pure. She's become a spinster, and then now she is ready for another marriage. No. If a man marries a woman who is divorced, he is simply living with another man's wife. And this is considered as unpardonable sin in scripture. The man can be killed for doing that. So we should be very careful with these things. We should not think that, okay, अरे उसका divorce हो गया, अभी इसका शादी कर लेंगे, फिर अभी सब कुछ ठीक हो गया. We should not be under illusion like this. Of course, it doesn't matter for all of you. You'll remain Naistika Brahmacharis for the rest of your life and go to Goloka. Fine. But in general, when you are preaching also, you should know these things, because you also preach to Grahasthas. You should know these things. Yes, Roji.
Thank you very much for nice inputs. First time I'm hearing such kind of thing. So, Prabhuji, is there any statement where means we get in scriptures like that too? In future, when we preach, some people may ask from where you are speaking this from. So how?
So Prabhupada says no. Prabhupada says in 3 places. One place Prabhupada says is artificial law. Other place Prabhupada says is man-made law. Okay. And one more place Prabhupada says we should ban this divorce. 3 separate statements I can give from purport where they are. Okay. 3 separate statements are there from Prabhupada. Okay. And that's one thing. Second is that obviously there is, see, those who know samskara, those who know how samskaras are performed, they know that there are different type of fire which is meant for different ceremonies. It's not the same fire for all ceremony. For each ceremony, there is a separate fire. And there is a mantra to invoke the particular fire. Those who know samskaras, they know this. Okay. There's no divorce fire. You should have a divorce fire, no. So there's no divorce fire. And there is no mantra to invoke a divorce fire. Which scripture you will find mantra to invoke divorce fire? Yeah, divorce, Agni. No, it's not there. It's not there. So that's why Prabhupada says in his purport that this is artificial law. Means what? Artificial means what? It is naturally not available. You have made up something. This is called artificial, right? That's what it is. Okay. So if you know marriage mantra, there is no provision in marriage mantra saying that, okay, in this condition, you can break this marriage. And then, see, one thing is separation, other thing is undoing. Okay. What Prabhupada says in the previous forward, Prabhupada is saying that in India, it used to lead to separation. Separation is accepted in Vedic system. Means that the wife doesn't want to live with the husband doesn't want to live with the wife. That's accepted in Vedic system. But divorce is not accepted. There's nothing called undoing a marriage. You understand the difference between these two? No? There's nothing called undoing a marriage. You can be separated. Prabhupada himself says, like a husband is like Naradama, then the wife is not supposed to be a slave of that husband. She can separate from him. Same way, if wife is unchaste, the husband is not forced to live with an unchaste woman. He can separate from her. Separation is okay. Separation is allowed. But divorce is not there. There's no divorce. That's why Prabhupada says it's artificial. Yeah? If someone says, no, divorce is natural, okay, Give me divorce mantra. From any scripture, give me divorce mantra. What is the mantra to be chanted while doing divorce? Please give. Nobody can give. Even in Christian tradition, what they say? They say, the bond which has been created by God, let it not be separated by man. You go and ask any father who conducts marriage. I'm not like verbatim saying that. This, they exactly say this meaning. The bond which is now sanctified with God, let it not be separated by man. They say. So, what to do? Okay.
Although it's very rare, but there are references in scriptures about remarriage of women also. Like if I read some references from Manusmriti, from Parashar Smriti, from Agni Puran.
I know those references. I know those references.
In Mahabharata also, like Kunti Devi, after bearing 3 children, he says, at max 3 times it's allowed, but don't ask me now. So, because he was pushing Pandu for having more
So,
children.
I know those references. But always see, that's the reason why you should always understand how to apply Shastra. Okay. Shastra is very vast. Okay. If you go to apply Shastra by mental speculation, okay, you will never end anywhere. A very simple thing. Okay. You have to apply Shastra as per how Acharya has taught you to apply Shastra. That's why it is not only Shastra. It is Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Okay. Prabhupada says there are 3 tracks for taking the engine. If you try to choose one track by mental speculation, then other 2 tracks will not follow. So who is the person who is authorized to interpret the Shastra? The Acharya is the person authorized to interpret the Shastra. Okay. In our case, the Acharya is Prabhupada. So Prabhupada very clearly says that divorce law is artificial. And he says man-made law. And he says it should be banned. All the 3. Okay. So now what will you do? Then Prabhupada is also saying that a woman can be separated from a man who is Naradama. But it doesn't mean that she should marry again and engage in prostitution. You want to see? I'll show you reference.
The initiation is another birth, and that time, because it's considered new birth, so that time she can remarry. Then only one reference is there like that.
Huh? So Prabhupada says that woman remarrying is prostitution. Is written in purport. Now what do you want to do?
One place I couldn't. I saw an article. I need to find out where exactly.
Find out.
It's quoted. It Prabhupada says one place is quoted. Initiation is considered as a rebirth.
Yeah, but see, again, you have to see the order of interpretation. What is the order of interpretation? What is the order of interpretation?
Means we have given that order. Prabhupada hasn't not said that is order.
No, that's natural order of interpretation. Purport, lectures, letters, conversation.
But sometimes some instruction given in letter, it may not be. It all depends. Because Prabhupada has not told that first you see from the purport, then you see from the lecture.
But it is logical, no, that Prabhupada wrote purport for everybody.
Because these situations, when this happens, like recent 1 or 2 cases, if I have to, now one lady I know, she got married and it was never told that he had some mental disease. And
no, but the thing is that in this case, the Shastra itself allows separation, divorce. See, that the problem with us is that sometimes we take Shastra the way we want. Sometimes we don't take Shastra the way we want. There are some cases where Shastra itself allows that a man can be separated from woman. And for a man, according to Shastra, there is no restriction for marrying again. The restriction is legal. Okay, man can marry, but only thing is he should take care of all the wife. But in Kali Yuga, man is not so competent that he cannot take care of one wife. So how he is going to take care of many wives? So therefore, Prabhupada said one man should be satisfied with one woman and one woman should be satisfied with one man. But previously, Prabhupada is saying that man can take more than one wife. It is a known thing that Prabhupada never said polygamy is prohibited. It's a known fact. It is recorded in many places. And even in this purport, in one of the purports, Prabhupada is saying that if a woman is pregnant and if man cannot satisfy his sex, then he can go to another wife and then he can satisfy himself. Okay. So polygamy for man is accepted, but remarriage for woman is rarest of the rare exceptions. Even in scripture, even in these places which you want to quote, you yourself said they are rare exceptions. But is modern divorce rare exception? Is it rare exception? I'm asking.
It's more frequent.
It's like become a norm. It's no longer an exception. It's like become a norm. Like today morning, I was dealing with one class, another Bhakti Yoga class, online class. And we were discussing the section where Swayambhu Manu is coming to give Devahuti in marriage to Kardama. We are discussing that chapter. In that chapter, it is described that how the father should take responsibility of finding a proper husband for the daughter. Okay. So that discussion came up, and then some discussion was happening about what is happening in the modern world and how it is becoming difficult. And one live case was quoted at that time. What is that? One boy and one devotee boy, devotee girl. They both got married. Okay. And after 2 months, they are now asking for divorce. 2 months. They are asking for divorce. They are going to spiritual master. They are saying, no, we cannot live together with each other. Now we want to have divorce. What is this? So the point is that in the very beginning of Bhagavatam, the nature of Kali Yuga is very nicely explained. What is that? The moment you give an exception, that exception will become rule. This is the very nature of Kali Yuga. Narada Muni tells Vyasadeva that you have given so many exceptions that these Kali Yuga fellows, they will make all these exceptions into rules. This is the nature of these Kali Yuga fellows. This is what they will do. So, therefore, we have to be careful with these things. That what we can accept and what we cannot accept. Ultimately, we should understand sinful life and Krishna consciousness cannot go together. If you want to go back to Godhead this lifetime, you should very carefully understand that sinful life and Krishna consciousness cannot go together. If you are thinking, okay, chalta hai, I'm chanting 16 rounds also, I'm doing this also, I'm doing that also. Sometimes I ask devotees, I don't know if I asked all of you, I'll take the risk of asking it again. How many of you think that Krishna consciousness is the most important thing in your life? Did I ask you this question? Okay, how many of you think that Krishna consciousness is the most important thing in your life? Can you please raise your hand? Is there anyone who did not raise his hand? You didn't raise your hand. I asked this question before. Yeah, okay. So Krishna consciousness is not the most important thing in our life. Don't be surprised. It is not the most important thing in our life. It's the only thing in our life. There's a huge difference between these two statements. If you say Krishna consciousness is the most important thing in my life, then it means that you also have other things which is not connected to Krishna consciousness, which may be less important, but you do have things which are independent of Krishna consciousness in your life. It may be less important, it may be least important, but you do have things which have no connection with Krishna consciousness in your life. That's very dangerous because that will keep you in the material world. That will keep you in the material world. So you should decide whether I want to go back this lifetime or I want to divorce this lifetime. Make a clear decision. I want to go back this lifetime or I will divorce this lifetime. This lifetime तेरा मेरा divorce हो गया. अभी देखेंगे next lifetime में शादी होता है कि नहीं होता है. So we are meant to take Krishna consciousness as the only thing in our life. We should not have 2 things, 3 things, 4 things in our life. From top to bottom, we have only one thing to do. What is that? Krishna consciousness. And in order to do that properly, whatever is proper, whatever is conducive, we should take it without exception. Without exception. If you keep looking for exceptions, then Krishna will also make you as an exception. सबको लेके जाएंगे, इसको accept करो, छोड़ दो, रहो. You live with exceptions. That's it. So that is the danger of always trying to find some way we can do something which is not appropriate. So we have to be very careful about these things. Ultimately, what we want, because Krishna says that I am the cheat of all the cheats, correct? In 10th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am the cheat of all the cheats. So we should know whom we are playing with. Whom we are playing with. You show 10 rules, Krishna will show you 100 rules. You show 10 rules of Krishna. Krishna, you see, these 10 rules are there. According to these 10 rules, whatever I did is okay. Krishna will show you back 100 rules. And then he will nicely smile at you. And he will say, according to these rules, what you did is not okay. So you please be here. You have a little more time to spend in this place. Be here and continue. So you have to be a little thoughtful in these things. We have to be a little thoughtful in these things.
Because the thing is, okay, but those who are devotees who are done like this, how do we advise them now? What they're supposed to be doing?
See, always we should remember that whatever is done, you cannot undo. Okay? We are never concerned with the past of a Vaishnava.
Not past, Prabhuji. After Diksha, after...
Yeah, I am saying that from today, okay, whatever is done, you cannot undo. Okay? What you can do, you can go and pray to Krishna that Krishna, whatever I have done. Please, make me sincere, make me proper, try to take me back to Godhead. And Krishna is fully independent. What Hari Leela does, throw him away. You would make 10 divorce also, I will take you to Goloka. If Krishna says what, I can go and argue with Krishna or what? My dear Krishna, why did you take him to Goloka? He will say, mind your business. I am Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can do what to Krishna? So, if we have sincere regret, and then if we go to Krishna with sincere regret, we can hope for Krishna's mercy. Krishna himself says that apichet sudracharo bhajate mam ananya bhakt sadhuryeva samantavya samyat vyavasthitogi saha shibram bhavati dharmatma sattva shantim nigacchati kaunte prajjanihi name bhakti pranashyati. So Prabhupada gives 2 points in that purport. One point he makes is that if you are sincere in your regret, Krishna will consider. But if you take shelter of that verse, and if you keep doing nonsense, he says you're not some kind of first class, you're not first class devotee. Both the points Krishna Prabhupada makes in that purport. So as a conditioned soul, we have done many mistakes. Okay. That's why we are here. Otherwise we'll be in spiritual world. And as long as we are in ignorance, we keep making mistakes. That's okay. Because we are in ignorance, we keep making mistake. But it is also the duty of the conditions of a devotee to actually read Prabhupada books, try to understand what is right, what is wrong, and try to accept what is favorable for going back to Godhead. And the amount of sincerity with which he does that, then Krishna will reciprocate accordingly. That's it. So institutionally, we have to say things like, for example, like, okay, divorce is something little bit less controversial, or it is accepted as a norm. Let's take child abuse. Okay. What we are doing institutionally, we cannot say, Shipram bhavati dharmatma satsvat santim nirgachati kaunteya prajadanihi name bhakti pranashyati. The moment you get into anyone gets into child abuse, what happens? Institutionally, some action has to be taken on them. They have to be kept away from the society. All these things. Institution has to do what they have to do. Individual has to do what he has to do, and Krishna will do what he has to do. These things we should clearly have separation. Institutionally, we should push for stable families. This is our duty, that grahasthas should be stable. They should understand divorce is artificial, is nonsense. They cannot do it. They should understand these things. But individually, if someone has done something, then that is between him and Krishna, that how sincere he is in his regret with Krishna. And then we should leave it between them and Krishna. That's it. We can't do anything. What can you do? Can you take that person who has divorced and take him to Ganga and push him inside? Why did you do divorce? Come, I'll take you on the boat, put you in Ganga, damn, push you. Is it possible? You cannot do it. You cannot do it. You have to leave it between him and Krishna. Whatever realization he has, and then Krishna and him, they will work out. Yeah. But at the same time, it's our duty to educate everyone that what is right and what is wrong. Because if you don't do it, then people will start thinking that it's okay to divorce, right? And everybody will, today morning, marriage, tomorrow morning, divorce, and day after tomorrow morning, marriage, and other day morning, divorce. This is what will happen. Yes, Puji.
Puji, what you shared is perfect. I want to understand something in the regard that in case, say, some situation is there where someone is not able to peacefully keep his Krishna consciousness while keeping with the wife, and he goes for what dharma says, that we separate. So the separation he does, but after that, the basic idea which Varnashram Dharma is administering the marriage is that the senses get protected by the presence of a woman as a fort to the senses. So that is not, either he has to become internally so detached by the separation, means when the Vanaprastha actually a person takes, he has come to that stage. That's why he is able to handle it. And even in Vanaprastha, actually it is told that he has the wife with him. And
He may have, he may not have.
He may or he may not have. But the idea is that the detachment is internal, which allows that external action. But separation at the frustration level may not be actually protection of the senses in one sense, because the senses are desiring. But
correct. I agree with all those things.
So, so what is the step forward? Means I'm not justifying divorce. I'm asking, what is the step for such a person?
So the step forward is that he can get married. That's what is happening, right? Naturally, that is happening. Whether you like or not, men are marrying, women are marrying. Okay, it's already happening. It's not question of we have to give some step forward to them. Okay, so they are already doing what they are doing. But is this going to help their Krishna consciousness? That's something which we need to think about.
So
see,
that's
we can always see. We have to always see from two perspectives. One perspective is that what is right and what is wrong. If you don't tell the society what is right and what is wrong, society is never going to understand what is right and what is wrong. What they will do, they will think that this is natural. They will think that it is natural. So somebody has to tell them this is unnatural. Okay. So that duty we have to tell the society that this is unnatural. Okay. So the moment you say that this is unnatural, and if you present it properly, then people will start thinking about getting into such a situation. See, there was a time in India when I was a young boy, when I was like 10 years old, we never heard anything called divorce. Marital problems are there that time also. Okay. We never heard anything called divorce or remarriage. Of course, we always heard that somebody has two wives, I've also seen people having two wives, people having three wives. It's common in at that time and the time before. It's all common. My great grandfather had two wives. It's all common. It is not like unusual. So my maternal grandfather had two wives. My mother is a daughter of first wife, and then her brothers are daughter of second wife. So this is all commonly there.
My
Polygamy
question-
was there. Okay. But divorce was never there.
No, I'm asking Proji that when Krishna consciousness stands at a difficulty for that soul, that means he cannot chant his round. That is the basic standard he wants to do, and his mind takes over him to so much degree that he has to diverse to be peaceful if his mind says that way.
And then
And
by
he's not
getting
in the dharma. I'm not saying he's
no, but
dharma.
okay, he will
Then-
divorce. Okay.
So he has to either separate or divorce. Within that, dharma says separate.
Okay.
Now he separates, but now
whether it
he
is-
is not protected from varnashram now also.
See, now the point is whether it is he or she. It makes a big difference. Huh? Like if it is he, Shastra allows him to get married. Okay. So when a man gets married, okay. So what is the risk he is facing? The risk he is facing is that he is facing the risk of not protecting his first wife, whom he has divorced. Okay. And for that, he has to take some reaction. There's no free lunch. Okay. He has to take some reaction for that. Okay. So what divorce is making us think? It is making us think that I am free from that reaction. That is the problem. The problem is
For the lady,
for the lady, if it is a lady, okay, and if she has to get remarried, if it is ISKCON, okay, in general, she should take the permission from the spiritual master. And if the spiritual master gives permission, then he will take the reaction. Somebody has to pay for it. You have to understand this very clearly. Huh? Someone has to pay for it. Nobody is going to eat free lunch here. Somebody is going to pay for it. So she should approach a spiritual master. Spiritual master, if he gives permission, he will pay for it. And that is between him and Krishna. The spiritual master is the exalted devotee. Krishna may just give a rap on his wrist and then let him go. Why? You see, most of the spiritual masters in ISKCON are having serious sickness. Have you seen this? Why? They are all paying for the disciples. That's why they are all sick. So being spiritual master is not easy. There's some glamour is there, that's fine. That I'm spiritual master, I have many disciples. Some glamour is there. But there's also this payment part, that whatever the disciples do, the spiritual masters have to pay for it. So what divorce makes us think? It makes us think nobody pays for it. It makes us think that I am an exalted devotee. I am a divorced exalted devotee. It makes us think like that. There lies the flaw. The flaw lies there. There lies the flaw. So that gives an illusion that I am perfect in Krishna consciousness. I am going to develop prema and I'm going to go back to Godhead. But going back to Godhead is not that cheap, no? So that is why these things are very important to understand. And it also gives an illusion that nobody is going to pay for it. But when you understand that if I go and ask my spiritual master that I am divorced, I can marry again, and if he gives permission, he is going to pay for it, then at least you will think, no, that whether I should do this kind of thing or not. So that's why these things, these discussions are important. That, okay, you do it, but you understand the implication of what you are doing. That much you should know. You should understand the implication of what you're doing. You should not do things thinking that this is all perfectly all right. I am doing a perfectly Krishna conscious activity. By this activity, my Krishna prema is going to increase. You should not think like that. No?
Prabhuji, like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says one should follow one's own duty and one should not do others' duty. Otherwise, it tended with the sinful reaction.
Correct. Yeah.
But in Kali Yuga, like this divorce issue currently, some years back, situation was little different. I'm not justifying it, but I'm trying to understand, Prabhuji. Now, situation, now nobody's able to follow their own dharma. They're all committing sins as per this otherwise. Like if otherwise one is somebody's committing sin if they're not following their own duties. But still now, because everything is topsy-turvy in a city-like situation. So Brahmanas also have to do job and earn salary. So these kind of things are there.
The Brahman by name only Brahman. Kalau Shudra Sambhavat. Everybody will take job and everybody will earn money. The Shastra itself says Kalau Shudra Sambhavat.
Even ISKCON, purified Brahmanas also, they have to work as a job.
No. I know many Brahmanas in ISKCON who don't do any work, who accepted voluntary poverty. Don't generalize.
But we see that's happening also with somebody staying in a city doing a job.
No, I am telling very clearly, don't generalize, because I know Brahmanas in ISKCON who are very serious Brahmanas who accepted voluntary poverty. You give them money, they will say no. And they have chosen to live in poverty. By their choice, they live in poverty.
That is true outside also. There must be some Brahmanas outside who are.
So that's why I'm saying that we should not make a sweepingly general statement about these things. There may be second initiated devotees who are having a job and who are earning money. Okay. I agree with that. Many of them doing it.
So considering, okay, this is one issue, divorce is one issue, but considering that the situation which lead to it, because to work something, it needs other things also should work properly. Then one thing will work. If other things in culturally, they're not working and we say this should work, then it becomes, don't you think, Prabhuji? How do we understand that? How does this will work, but everything shouldn't work? That's fine.
No. See, there are few basic understanding, okay, which is lacking in today's society. What is the basic understanding? A basic understanding of what is a marriage and how a marriage is supposed to work is lacking in today's society. And it is lacking in ISKCON also. Okay. We take marriage very cheaply. We don't give proper thought process or gravity to marriage. Okay. It's a defect. It should be corrected. When I got married 25 years back, I was not even a devotee. Okay. And my marriage had fair share of problems. It's not that me and my wife, we never fought with each other. We nicely fought with each other. I have told this many times also. I have told it publicly also. My wife also has told it publicly. Husband and wife means they will fight. Okay. So it's not something new. Okay. My father and mother are fighting. Her father and mother are fighting. Any husband and wife will fight. Okay. But that doesn't mean that they will separate. Okay. This basic understanding is not there in today's marriage. So this is a defect. It is not that, everything is not working properly, so this is also not working properly. That's not the argument. The argument is that when you want to enter into a certain situation, which is an ashrama, then you should know what you are getting into. You should understand the basic responsibility and rules of an ashrama, and then you should follow the rules of the ashrama. Okay. Now, if I bring the same parallel which you are saying to brahmacharya ashram, then what will happen? Okay, everything is not working properly. So in brahmacharya ashram, we should not be strict about brahmachari's behavior because everything is not working properly. So you should not expect brahmacharis also to be proper. So some brahmacharis can be homosexual. It's okay. What to do? Everything is not working properly. So this also should not work properly. Some brahmacharis can miss Mangalarati. They can come 10 o'clock in the morning. They can get up and they can sleep for 14 hours a day. What to do? Everything is not working properly. So this brahmachari ashram is also like that. So what to do? Some brahmacharis can have illicit connection with women and they can do what they're doing. What to do? Everything is not working properly. So this also we should not expect this to work properly. But still we should give them saffron. We should keep them as brahmacharis because they want to live in brahmachari ashram. What will happen to brahmachari ashram? Can you imagine what will happen to brahmachari ashram? The same argument, no? You extend the argument to another ashram. That's it. Because everything is ashram. Brahmacharya ashram, grahastha ashram, vanaprastha ashram, sannyasa ashram. Everything is ashram. So why to just talk about grahastha ashram and then say everything is not working properly, so you should not expect grahasthas to be proper. They will do whatever they want. You should just tolerate and you should just preach to them. Extend the same thing to brahmacharis also. Why they should suffer? Why they should suffer? One poor brahmachari wants to have illicit sex with one woman. Why are you stopping him?
We're talking not illicit. This is also.
No, divorce is illicit. That is the problem. That is what I am trying to explain for the past 1 hour, that divorce is illicit. That is the whole thing I'm trying to explain, that divorce is illicit. We are talking exactly about illicit affair. Okay. So if you say that grahasthas are meant to go to dogs, and you should accept like that grahasthas are meant to go to dogs, you should not try to disturb them, let them happily go to dogs and let them do what they want, then you should apply the same rule to all the ashram and give the benefit to all the ashram, same thing. You should say everybody should go to dogs. Right? Yes or no? Why to just take one ashram and then tell them, okay, you do whatever you want. So just like we have very strict brahmachari training, which we should have, and we are unforgiving when a brahmachari breaks a rule, just take him out of ashram or take his saffron away, put him back in white. We are unforgiving. But for what? For the good of the brahmachari and good of the all other ashram. Otherwise, ashrams cannot run. So we should have a proper educational approach towards the duties and responsibilities of all ashrams. That is especially lacking about grahastha ashram in ISKCON.
Like we see Srila Prabhupada, now sannyas, one should not supposed to fall down after sannyas. But Srila Prabhupada, that time that was a norm and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't accept Chota Haridas. But Srila Prabhupada said, now I can't do like that. Actually, it's not possible. And then he wrote in the purport also that one should practice from where one is more safely situated at. So now there is two norms. One is what scriptures say and one is how the people perceive. So now, like somebody marrying somebody else is not considered as illicit.
Let's finish the sannyas thing because you started it. Let's finish it. Okay. So what sannyas ministry has done? Sannyas ministry has made a rule that anybody who wants to, they can take sannyas. And after taking few years of sannyas, anybody who wants to fall down should make an application to sannyas ministry that I want to fall down. And then the application will be granted for falling down. Then you enter grahastha ashram and then you take grahastha ashram and live like that. Is this the current sannyas ministry rules? Is this the current sannyas ministry rules? What sannyas ministry is doing? It is making acceptance of sannyas more and more strict and difficult. And it is making sure, is monitoring all the sannyasis, what they are doing, how they are maintaining their ashram. They are not saying, okay, Prabhupada wrote in 8th canto that the strength of the elephant is in the land and the strength of the crocodile is in the water. So wherever is your strength, from that you should fight Maya. They are not saying that, no. they are trying to properly situate that ashram, right? Exactly same thing we should do for grahasthas also. We should try to properly situate them in their ashram. That is what we should do. We should not find ways and means to spoil their ashram. Right? It's the same thing we do for everybody. But the problem when we talk about grahasthas is that everybody gets little sensitive because then, grahasthas are grahasthas. So everybody gets little sensitive and everybody wants to talk. But I'm also grahastha.
Because
I have right to talk. So I
something
talk. Yeah.
like two reasons we follow. One, because this is absolutely pure behavior is expected from brahmacharya, and second is our society will get immense bad name if such things are, which is
Oh,
considered.
hold on. Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga, not for grahasthas. Shiksha Tabekam, Purusha Purana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari, Kripam Buddhir Tamaham Prapadye. Is this the shloka? Is this the shloka? Where it is written in that shloka, in the bracket, not for grahasthas? Where it is written? Where it is written? Can you show me? Every person who is following Lord Chaitanya is supposed to follow these two things. Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. Whether he is brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi, doesn't matter. It's only for social interaction these things are there. Why varnashram is there is simply meant for social interaction. But when you want to practice devotional service, what is the position you take? Naham varno, na cha grahapati, naham vaishyo. I am not any of this grahastha. I am not any of this upadhis. What is my upadhi? My upadhi is Gopi Bharta, Padakamalayur, Dasa, Dasano, Dasaha. Where it says this is not meant for grahasthas. And for your information, ISKCON's name gets spoiled more when grahasthas become screwed up. Don't be under illusion that ISKCON grahasthas can do anything and then Prabhupada's name will not be spoiled. It's an illusion. Because grahasthas are more observed and they are more common. You know what people say? Don't join ISKCON because if you join ISKCON, your family will get spoiled. Is what people say. So don't be under illusion that purity is only meant for one ashram, not meant for another ashram. Purity is meant for all ashrams. As far as Krishna consciousness is concerned, whether one is grahastha, one is vanaprastha, one is sannyasi, these are all ephemeral positions one takes. Ephemeral positions. Because they have to interact in the society, they take ephemeral positions. Everyone is supposed to be pure. Everyone is supposed to try to go back to Godhead in this lifetime. Don't be under the illusion that the grahasthas can rot in this material world and only brahmacharis are meant to go back to Godhead in this lifetime. If you come to Mayapur, I can show you 5 people. Out of that 5 people, 2 are grahasthas, 3 are grahasthas, and 1 is ex-grahastha. And everybody comes to see all those 5 people. You know who are they? Do you know who are they?
Panchatattva.
Panchatattva. Advaita Acharya is grahastha. Nityananda Prabhu is grahastha. Srivas Thakur is grahastha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is ex-grahastha. In Mahaprabhu's movement, everyone is supposed to be renounced. We should understand these basic things, otherwise it's very difficult. Otherwise you'll go to grahastha and preach that you can be Vishayi. You are grahastha, you can be Vishayi. It will become dangerous. In Mahaprabhu's movement, everyone is meant in Prabhupada's, as Prabhupada's followers, all of us are meant to try sincerely to go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime, including Grahasthas. Huh? Not that Grahasthas, okay, you Grahastha, you fallen idiot. Now you have fallen Chit Patma Patham, Graham, and the Kupham. That's it. You are done. For millions of lifetimes, you will rot here. No, everyone is supposed to. The training in Prabhupada's movement should be that everyone should be trained in their ashram in such a way that they are able to go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime. It's clear? Everyone is supposed to be pure. Huh? Be clear about these things. Don't tell your Grahastha, followers that tum to gaya hai, tumhara koi nahi hai, tum kaisa bhi hoega, kaisa bhi tum jaane wala nahi hai, kuch bhi karne ka kar lo. 100 जन्म के बाद जब तुम ब्रह्मचारी होएगा तब तुम्हारा देखा जाएगा, अभी तो तुम्हारा कुछ नहीं है. Don't preach like that. Huh? You have to be careful about these things. Anyway.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I ask? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, you mentioned that women are not supposed to get divorced, but in scriptures also it is written that if conditions are like that, she can be separate. So
yes,
under whose protection? Under whose protection she'll be?
Normally, a woman is supposed to be under the protection of the husband. And if she is separated from the husband, then she is supposed to be under the protection of the father as long as he is there. And if when the father passes away, she is supposed to be in the protection of her brothers. That is generally the system. Okay. But in Kali Yuga, we have to see whether father will protect or brother will protect. If they don't protect, because sons don't protect the father, that is the nature of Kali Yuga. Only daughters protect the father. They solve everything reverse. So in general, the answer is this only, that what father and brother is supposed to protect her. That is how she is supposed to be. And they are duty bound to protect her if she is separated from the husband. That's why I said that if she has no protection, then she can approach the spiritual master and ask for some, she can say that I want to get married again because I want protection, and take permission from the spiritual master and then get married. Then spiritual master and Krishna will decide that how the reaction will go to the spiritual master. That's what will happen.
Again, it has become, I'm sorry to cut down like that, Prabhuji, but again the same thing happened, na Prabhuji. We have a reason that my husband is not good, so I want to remarry. So you said if remarriage is like a prostitution, right? So how will you reconcile these two aspects? Like,
I'm not clear about the question. What is that?
okay, so you mentioned, Prabhuji, actually you should not get separated from husband. This was the first thing.
No, I didn't say that you should not get separated from husband. I didn't say that. I said a woman is not meant to be a slave. That's also I didn't say. Prabhupada says a woman is not meant to be a slave of a husband who is Naradama.
Right.
She can separate from that husband. Okay.
Yeah.
But then you have to also see that what is a condition for which separation is warranted. Like generally, there are different type of condition. Like husband is devotee. Let's say now, since we are talking about woman, we'll take this condition. Husband is not devotee and wife is devotee. But if husband is favorable to Krishna consciousness, she did not separate from him because anyway he is favorable to Krishna consciousness. If husband is not favorable to Krishna consciousness, he is not objecting her Krishna consciousness, then she did not separate from him because anyway he is not objecting her Krishna consciousness. If husband is not favorable to Krishna consciousness and he is objecting to her Krishna consciousness, but anyway she is able to practice her Krishna consciousness, she did not separate because that objection is nominal only. She can just live with it. It's not a problem. Okay. If the husband is not devotee and he is objecting her Krishna consciousness and he is forcing her not to practice Krishna consciousness, but still she is somehow finding her ways and means to practice Krishna consciousness, she still did not separate, because even though he is forcing her, she is anyway practicing Krishna consciousness. So she still need not separate from that husband. But if a husband is not devotee and he is forcing his wife to break regulative principles, he is telling his wife, now, if you don't drink, I will open your mouth and put alcohol inside. If he is doing this kind of things, he is considered as Naradama, then she should immediately separate from him. Okay. So
Yeah.
in general, one should try to keep the institution of marriage intact. But if it becomes impossible, separation is allowed. There's no problem. We can separate. And same thing goes with the wife also. I told about devotee wife and non-devotee husband. There could be a case where devotee husband and non-devotee wife. Same thing goes with them also. As long as the husband is able to practice Krishna consciousness, even the wife is chiding him or making his life miserable, but still if he is able to practice Krishna consciousness, he should not give up that wife. Still, he tried to maintain that family and practice his Krishna consciousness. That's it. But if why is he cooking non-veg and mixing it in his vegetarian sabji and then sending it to him without knowingly she's making him to eat, then this kind of wife should be given up. Or if she's engaging in illicit sex, that kind of wife should be given up.
Okay. Can I ask, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, like earlier it was like serving your husband itself was considered as a devotional service because most of the men were devotees. And women were not doing like 16 rounds, 2 hours, 16 rounds, some services compulsory in the temple. So the time what she is spending with the services and her own sadhana, so that was saved in earlier days. So she had more time for her family affairs. Right now, a woman's duty is like she has to take care of the house, she has to take care of her own sadhana, certain services in the temple, or like preaching, some or other services will be there. In such conditions, I mean, most of the divorce cases when we hear, the men object that most of the time she's busy with her own sadhana, she's busy with her own seva, so there's no time for her. So is it written in the scriptures that what we are doing right now, that 2 hours sadhana and seva, or it is if you have a husband who is a devotee, you just serve your husband and a family?
So Prabhupada said that if a wife serves her devotee husband, then she gets 50% of the benefit of his service. Okay. But still, in Kali Yuga, because men are not qualified, so she has to take her initiation and she has to chant her 16 rounds. Okay. So that is something which she should do independently. She should take initiation, she should chant 16 rounds, and she should follow 4 regulative principles. This she needs to do independently. Okay. So that's one thing. But other than that, if her husband is a devotee and if she is able to serve him, then naturally she will serve the movement by serving the husband. Okay, that will become natural. Like I do a lot of services, but I am able to do those services because my wife takes care of me nicely. If my wife is not taking care of me nicely, I will not be able to do so many services which I am doing. Because she arranges everything for me perfectly, then I carelessly do my service. I don't worry about my home. I don't think I should go to grocery and I should buy this, I should buy that. My entire home is run by my wife. I don't know what is where in my house, very frankly. For everything in my house, I am dependent on my wife. If I enter the house, it is like a foreign territory for me. Then everything is controlled by my wife. And I am very happy with that because she doesn't bother me with anything about house management. So then I am able to dedicate my time to do various services, which I do for Prabhupada's movement. It doesn't mean that she doesn't have her own services. She also has her own services. She is a Shastrik teacher. She is also a counselor. She does counseling. She teaches Shastra. She has her own services also. But how did she get time? This is something which we need to think about. We simply followed Prabhupada's instruction. What is that? We had one son, we put him in Gurukul. So son was living in Gurukul. Me and my wife were there. My wife had time, I had time. And she was able to do her services. She was able to take care of my duties, whatever I was supposed to do. And then she was also able to do substantial service to the movement. So my realization is that to the extent you follow the instruction of the Acharya, to that extent your services to the Krishna conscious movement will become easier and easier. That's it. It's as simple as that. The Prabhupada says that the duty of a woman is to take care of the child like taking care of a deity. So when she has a small child, then child worship is deity worship for her. So she should focus on the small child. But when the child grows up to a certain age, if he is a boy, he should be sent to Gurukula. And then he should be taken care of in Gurukula. Then people may say, oh, Gurukula system is so much problem is there, that is there. We should fix those problems. That's what we should do. In English, we have a saying, we should not throw the baby with the bath water. We should not throw the baby with the bath water. So we should throw the bath water and keep the baby. But the classic Kali Yuga mentality is that you throw the baby with the bath water. That is the problem. So women accept the austerity of going for a job and then managing everything. But working for Krishna is also like going for a job. Like my wife never worked in that sense of working. But whenever anybody will ask her that, what are you doing? You're not working. She will say, yes, I'm working for Krishna. It's true. She's working for Krishna. So we have to prioritize what we want and we should live accordingly. Then everything will fall in place. According to our priority, we will have challenges. Whatever we prioritize, according to our priority, we will have challenges. And we should try to work out some solution for those challenges according to our priorities, what we have. Sometimes the solution is to actually reorder our priorities. Sometimes that is a solution, and we should drastically rearrange our priorities. Like I'm sure you were in the class when I told that my son wanted to build houses. Yeah?
Yeah, I was there.
So I rearranged my priority. I left everything and I came to Mayapur. Not that I'm some great personality or something. I'm not saying for all those things, okay? I'm simply saying that practically, if you want to achieve something, you should rearrange your priority. If that means disturbing your whole life, you should just disturb your whole life. That's it. That's what you should do. And depend on Krishna, and Krishna will give you some way to move forward. That's it.
Prabhuji, just 2 decades back, the things were very, what you're saying, like you prioritized yourself and you have come back and your wife was not working. 2 decades, not even 2 decades, just 1 decade back, it was almost same. But just in last 10 years, drastic changes happened. So now the scenarios are completely different. Even if a girl wants to get married, she doesn't want in-laws. And the brother also doesn't want the sister to be, as a responsibility. Parents also are like that. Women are working. So when we are preaching, when we are preaching now to this new generation, and when we come across such kind of things, so for them it is like completely too much for them to do Krishna consciousness. So they keep, most of them like doesn't want to come in also. Like, oh, I have to leave my job, I have to work, not work, I have to be dependent on my husband, I have to serve my husband, my family, my children, and all these things. So it's like for them, like losing their freedom. So it's very, very difficult for them to take Krishna consciousness. In such scenario, how to counsel such situations where we have to tell them to give the priority to Krishna consciousness?
See, people are not machine. Okay. You can't switch on and switch off people. You have to understand this very, very clearly. Nobody is machine. You can't switch off them and you can't switch on them. Everything will gradually happen. Krishna says, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. But what are the second 2 lines? You know? Tat swayam yoga samsiddha kale natmani vindati. It's very, very important to understand this. that the most purest thing is transcendental knowledge. That is the purest thing. But how you are going to get the transcendental knowledge is going to take time. Kale natmani vindati. Krishna himself is saying, Tatsvayam yoga samsiddha kale natmani vindati. That if you want to become siddha, some siddha means that you want to become completely master of the transcendental knowledge, you are going to take time. It's a very practical thing Krishna is saying. So if you catch a woman who is completely career oriented and who has that so-called quote unquote freedom, and whose ideas are very strongly rooted in the modern feministic idea of how women should be. And if you tell her, no, you should cover your head, you should pay obeisance to your husband every day morning, and you should leave your job, and you should think that your pati is Parameshwar, it's not going to happen. You simply encourage her to chant Hare Krishna and eat prasadam. That's it. This is what we can do. And once she's chanting Hare Krishna and eating prasadam, then you encourage her to read Prabhupada books. So when she reads Prabhupada books, she will come up with questions. And when she comes up with questions, then you give her some empathic listening and give her some nice answers in a very compassionate way, that this is right and this is wrong. But you may take time to understand what is right, and you may take time to make incremental changes to understand what is right and how to implement it. So if you take that approach, then they are more likely to change. If you simply say that this is it or nothing more, my way or highway, then it is not going to happen. I have 2 hours with you, 3 hours with you. Within 3 hours, I am supposed to tell you that this is right and this is wrong. I am not preaching, I am teaching. But when you preach to a person, you have a lifetime of relationship with them, not 3 hours. So your approach cannot be my approach. Your approach and my approach have to be different. I have only 3 hours. I have 5 days, 3 hours. And within that, I am supposed to cover 277 shlokas. And we are on 61st shloka of 277 shloka. This is the fate of my profession. I should not say profession, my service, okay? This is the fate of my service. But still, I am giving time for this discussion because this is the biggest misunderstanding we are fighting with. What is that? That Grahasthas go to dogs, don't train them. They are a fallen lot. Anyway, they cannot, there is no redemption for them. Just leave them to what they are. And then just do what you have to do. No, we are supposed to train everyone. Because I am Grahastha, I can very loudly say that. If Brahmachari says that, then it will become a problem. All Grahasthas will start throwing at Brahmacharis, throwing stones at Brahmachari. They will say, why are you saying this? You Brahmachari, you have no right to talk about Grahasthas. Okay, now I am Grahastha, I am talking. What you can do? Throw stones at me. I lived with my wife for 25 years. Nobody can say that, no, you didn't live properly. No, I lived with my wife, same husband, same wife, 25 years we lived. We didn't change. So from that strength, I can talk. So the point is that you have to take time and you have to slowly tell them, but you should tell them what is right and what is wrong. At one time, they will automatically realize that this is right, this is wrong. That time they will come to you and then they will say, I want to change my life. So that time help them to change their life. But if you yourself don't have conviction of what is right and what is wrong, what you will teach them? That is the problem. You understand? No, that is what we are fighting with. We are fighting with a perception of people having a different idea of what is right and what is wrong. That's what we are doing. You understand?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. So there was also one more comment. Basically, that comment said that Prabhupada said follow. Okay. We do not allow divorce, but in your country it is a common thing. Although we don't like it, according to your country, what can be done? There's a Sanskrit saying, do according to your country's law. If both present husband and wife agree to divorce, then you can do it and remarry. What can be done? So it's a very, very interesting quote from Prabhupada. Now, according to what you want to see in this quote, you can see two things. Okay. I'm going to show both the things to you. Okay. In your country, it is a common thing. According to your country's law, there's a Sanskrit saying, do according to country's law. If both present husband and wife agree divorce, they can do it and then they can remarry. Same quote only. I have seen one part of the quote. What is that? In your country, it is a common thing. According to the country, what can be done? There's a Sanskrit saying, do according to country's law. If both present husband and wife agree to divorce, then they can do it and remarry. I have seen one part of the quote because this is what I want to see. There's one more part of the quote which I don't want to see. I'm going to read that. We do not allow divorce. We don't like it. What can be done? I want to remind one sloka which everybody knows. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutopi dhyayanstu vamstasya yasastri sandhyan vande guru sri charanaravindam. Do we know this sloka? Do we know this sloka? Do we remember it? Do you remember this sloka? Remember or we don't remember? We remember. Do you remember every day? We do not allow divorce. We don't like it. Now, the same statement of Prabhupada can be seen as pro-divorce or against divorce. It simply depends on what you want to see. But plain reading of English shows that this person who wrote this is frustrated. Is frustrated. Plain reading of English shows this. I don't know mathematical analysis. Nowadays, it's become very, very fashionable to do mathematical analysis of English. I'm not expert in that. Okay. Plain reading of English shows that this person who wrote it, who happens to be the founder Acharya of our movement, is frustrated with this concept of divorce. You're very clearly saying that we don't allow divorce. We don't like it. What can I do? And we say that Prabhupada allowed divorce. I have heard this many times. I become very angry. My blood boils when someone says Prabhupada allowed divorce. Because he didn't allow divorce. He was frustrated with the whole concept of divorce. He took the greatest risk which a sannyasi can take. He conducted marriage ceremony for his disciples. No sannyasi is supposed to do that. He did that. But when his disciples did not honor the commitment of marriage, they were very frustrated. He said, I'm not going to get involved with you people. For a man of Prabhupada's compassion to say that is not so easy. So normally my blood boils when someone says that Prabhupada allowed divorce. What to do? So you can see what you want to see. Just like Puranjana, he is seeing what he wants to see. He is simply seeing what his wife is seeing. He's simply hearing what his wife is hearing. He's simply drinking what his wife is drinking. He is simply doing what his wife is doing. Because that is the nature of Puranjana. Puranjana means enjoyer of this body. He is simply the slave of his mind. The mind says, Prabhupada allows divorce. He also says, yes, Prabhupada allows divorce. The mind says you can divorce and then you can get Krishna Prem. And then he also says, yes, I can divorce and I can get Krishna Prem. And what is he? He is Puranjana. He is Puranjana. That is exactly what is happening with Puranjana. That his mind shows him what he has to see. And then he simply sees that. His mind makes him experience what he has to experience. And then he simply experiences that. He has no independence on his own to see through the eyes of the Shastra and then to ascertain what is right and what is wrong. He has simply become the victim of his mind. And Prabhupada says the whole creation is simply on the platform of mental speculation. So this is what is the problem of many devotees in ISKCON. They practice Krishna consciousness in mental platform. They practice Krishna consciousness in mental platform. Simply they accept the mind's dictation of what is right and what is wrong in practice of Krishna consciousness. They simply accept it. And if you practice Krishna consciousness like that, that means successfully we have become Puranjana. Successfully we have become Puranjana. That is why the story of Puranjana is there. Even against the poor foolish king's desire, he remained under the control of his wife, just like a pet animal that dances according to the order of its master. We should not become the pet animal of our mental speculation. We are not meant to become. We are not meant to become the pet animal of our mental speculation. We are meant to rule our mind and submit it under the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna. It's very difficult. It's a difficult process. It's not easy. I'm never saying that it is easy. Prabhupada also never said it is easy. He said the process is easy, but the application is difficult. So the difficulty is going to be there. But we have to take shelter of Vaishnavas. We have to take shelter of Guru Sadhu Shastra. And if we walk that path, if you remember Lord Chaitanya, Katanjana Smrite Yasmin, Dushkaram, Sukaram Bhavet, Smrite Upritam Syat, Sri Chaitanyam Namamitam. If you remember Lord Chaitanya every day, and if you try to practice Krishna consciousness, we will get the strength. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that I will protect you from Maya. So we should take shelter.
One of the reasons, Prabhuji, probably why you see a little softer attitudes toward these statements is what we've seen in the recent past is some of the devotees, senior devotees in the community had to marry, and they had to marry divorce lady, and then when they approached a spiritual master, we never heard, although he's very strict with brahmachari, but we never heard he expressed any kind of like that kind of hesitation for there. Or so
what can spiritual master do? Sometimes I find that the most pavam species in the whole ISKCON is the spiritual master. I don't know what do you understand by pavam. The most helpless species in ISKCON is the spiritual master. What can he do? If he rejects a disciple, then the disciple is finished. If he doesn't reject a disciple, then he has to take reaction. So most spiritual masters in ISKCON, they have understood that this is their life. So they simply accept reactions. And disciple becomes Guru Bhogi. What they become? Guru, bhogi. अरे disciple should have some, कुछ शर्म होना चाहिए. Oh, my spiritual master did not condemn my activity, so I am great personality. What is this? I don't know the specific case what you're talking about, but if that is the attitude, it's very dangerous. You don't wait for the spiritual master to condemn your activity. Very, very dangerous. Krishna will not forgive. Huh? This is all very dangerous thing. That we can think that, okay, Guru did not say anything. I did whatever I wanted to do. Now I have escaped. We should remember Dhruva's pastime. Krishna did not forgive Suruchi. Dhruva Maharaj forgave Suruchi. He said, okay, no problem. Okay, ठीक है, हो गया. रात गई, बात गई. But Krishna did not forgive. So this is the point of understanding that we are dealing with a person. Krishna is not a system. Krishna is a person. We are not dealing with a system. We are dealing with a person. And we are dealing with the most powerful person whom has ever been and who will ever be. We have to be very careful with these things. Very, very careful. Okay, we should take a break and do our Gayatri. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we are going to take Prajna for hunting. So one day Prajna got fed up of his wife, like every other grahastha who gets fed up of his wife. Then he went hunting. How did he go? My dear king, once upon a time, King Prajna took up his great bow, equipped with golden armor and a quiver full of unlimited arrows. Accompanied by 11 commanders, he sat on the chariot driven by 5 swift horses, went to the forest named Panchaprastha. He took with him in the chariot 2 explosive arrows. The chariot itself was situated on 2 wheels, one and revolving on 1 axle. The chariot had 3 flags, 1 rein, 1 chariot driver, 1 sitting place, 2 poles to which a harness was fixed, 5 weapons and 6 7 coverings. The chariot moved in 5 different styles and 5 obstacles lay before it. All the decorations of the chariot were made of gold. So this is a complete and full description of the material situation of a soul who is engaged within the body. So what are the different items which is explained here? So Prabhupada gives the explanation. So Panchaprashta means the 5 sense objects, 5 senses, okay? Then the 5 horses are the 5 sense organs. The 2 explosive weapons are Aham and Mameti. The 2 wheels are sinful life and religious life. The 3 flags are the modes of material nature. The 5 kinds of obstacles are the 5 kinds of life air which is passing through the body. Prana, Apana, Udana, Samana and Vyana. And the 7 coverings are skin, muscle, fat, blood, marrow, bone and semen. And the rope is the mind, the bird, the nest is the heart, and the 2 poles which are there for binding, they are lamentation and illusion. The golden argument, the golden ornaments or the golden decorations is the mode of passion, which is Rajoguna. The 11 commanders are the 10 senses and the mind. The Panchaprastha forest is the sense objects. So thus in these 3 verses, Narada Muni describes the position of the material body and the engagement of the living entity within that. Yes, Krishna Rupa Mataji.
Prabhuji, what are the 5 different styles?
What is that?
5 different styles.
the 5 different styles of moving.
Yes.
The chariot moved in 5 different styles and 5 obstacles. Okay, I will refer. I have not seen it. I will refer and tell you.
Sure, Prabhu, sure.
Okay, so there are some other explanations Prabhupada gives in the purport. It's very interesting to read. So please, let's read it. Huh? Where is it? The living entity carries out various desires through 5 different processes, which indicate the working of the 5 working senses. That's the 5 different styles. The working of the 5 different senses. The working of the 5 karmendriyas are the 5 different styles of movement. It's clear?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Okay, let's read some other things in the purport. Okay, please read.
The body itself is the chariot, and the living entity is the owner of the body. These 3 qualities are described in this verse as 3 flanks.
Which is Rajoguna, Tamoguna, and Sattoguna. Okay.
The influence of the 3 qualities of material nature, one can easily know the direction in which the chariot is moving.
So according to the dictation of the modes, the karmendriyas and the gyanendriyas act. So then they move in different directions. Okay.
Narada Muni wanted to prove to King Prachina Parishad that the king was being influenced by the tamoguna, the quality of ignorance, even though the king was supposed to be very religious.
Continue.
These animal sacrifices are recommended in the name of religion, but actually animal sacrifice is meant for a person in the mode of ignorance. When such people kill animals, they can at least do so in the name of religion.
So here, Parchana Parishad, he is actually thinking he is doing pious activity, but Narada Muni wants to point out to him that his activity is in mode of ignorance, because what happens is that he excessively killed the animals, is number 1. And number 2, he killed the animals because he also had this idea that he wanted to taste their flesh. So both these things were there. So therefore, he actually wanted to pointed out to the king that what you're doing is not correct, even though you're doing it in the garb of a sacrifice, but because your intentions are steeped in mode of ignorance, so therefore it cannot be accepted as pious activity. And this is exactly the same thing Puranjana also does in the hunting process. We will see that. Okay, please read, continue.
In the Bhagavad Dharma, the religion dealing with one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of a Godhead, animal sacrifice is not recommended. In the performance of Sankirtana Yajna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no recommendation for animal sacrifices. King Puranjana's going to the forest to kill animals is symbolic of the living entities being driven by the modes of ignorance and thus engaging in different activities for sense gratification.
Yeah, so he thinks that I can get some happiness out of this body. So therefore, in mental platform, in mode of ignorance, he does different activities. Okay.
When the body is influenced by the mode of ignorance, its infection becomes very acute. When it is influenced by the mode of passion, the infection is at the symptomatic stage. However, when the body is influenced by the mode of goodness, the materialistic infection becomes purified.
Yeah, so we know this, that what is the nature of mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness. We have studied elaborately in Bhagavad Gita about these things. Okay. So even though he was very attached, so it is, even though it's impossible for Prajana to give up the company of his queen, even for a moment, nonetheless, on that day, being very much inspired by desire to hunt, he took up the bow and arrow with great pride and went to the forest, not caring for his wife. So Prabhupada equates this idea of Puranjana going to hunt without caring for his wife to woman hunting. Okay, please read.
One form of hunting is known as woman hunting. King Puranjana's abandoning the company of his religiously married wife is representative of the conditioned soul's attempt to hunt for many women for sense gratification. With great pride, he accepts the bow and arrow of attachment and hatred.
Yeah. So sometimes a man becomes so confused that he does this kind of abominable things. He starts hunting for women. At that time, King Puranjana was very influenced by demoniac propensities. Because of this, his heart had become very hard and merciless. With sharp arrows, he killed many innocent animals in the forest, taking no consideration. Okay, please read.
When a man becomes too proud of his material position, he tries to enjoy his senses in an unrestricted way, being influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance. He is thus described as asuric or demoniac. Men do not understand that because they unrestrictedly kill so many animals, they also must be slaughtered like animals in big wars.
That's what we are seeing in Kali Yuga, the big wars, mass killing happening. So
Sometimes during war, soldiers kept their enemies in concentration camps and killed them in very cruel ways. These are reactions brought about by unrestricted animal killing in the slaughterhouse and by hunters in the forest. In the Krishna consciousness movement, animal killing is completely prohibited. One is not accepted as a bona fide student in this movement unless he promises to follow the four regulative principles: no animal killing, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. This Krishna consciousness movement is the only means by which the sinful activities of the
men in this Kali
men
Yuga,
in this Kali Yuga can be counteracted.
so it's very important. This is the Krishna conscious movement is meant to do this. It's meant to counteract the sinful activities of men in Kali Yuga. So we should not ourselves become victim of sinful activity. We are not meant to do that. We are not meant to ourselves do sinful activity and then think that, oh, we are devotees and then we can do all these things. So it's very clear that what is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. However, we try to adjust things and justify. Sometimes Prabhupada writes it very, very clearly that this is what it is meant to be. If you are part of ISKCON, this is what you are meant to do. So, okay.
The traffic regulations on the street telling people to keep to the right or the left are meant for human beings, not for animals. If an animal violates such a law, he is never punished, but a human being is punished. The Vedas are not meant for the animals, but for the understanding of human society. A person who indiscriminately violates the rules and regulations given by the Vedas is liable to be punished.
Yeah, so this is a nice warning. We should understand these things, that we should not think that we can do whatever we want and we can fly under the radar and then everything will be all right. You should not think like that. You should not think like that.
Marriage means taking complete charge of a woman and living peacefully without debauchery. At the present moment, however, debauchery is unrestricted. Nonetheless, society makes a law that one should not marry more than one wife. This is typical of a demoniac society.
Typical of a demoniac society. We can accept illicit sex, but we cannot accept polygamy. We can accept illicit sex, but we cannot accept child marriage. Everything correct, we cannot accept. Everything incorrect, we can accept. This is how Kali Yuga works. Kali Yuga works like this. Very nature of Kali Yuga is like this. So as we practice Krishna consciousness and as we preach Krishna consciousness, it is going to become more and more challenging because Kali Yuga will be like this only. Kali Yuga will make our life more and more challenging. The nature of preaching movement and the nature of presenting Krishna consciousness will become increasingly challenging in Kali Yuga as Kali Yuga progresses. So we have to gear up for the challenge, and we should think how to present Krishna consciousness uncompromisingly, in spite of the onslaught of Kali. We should try to think about it very carefully, that how to present it. It should be attractive, but at the same time, it should be presented uncompromisingly. Okay.
Just as a government may issue trade licenses in order for its citizens to act in a certain way, the Vedas contain injunctions that restrain and regulate all of our fruitive activities.
Okay. Please read the word Manaruda.
The word mana rudha is also very significant in this verse. Under the pretext of becoming great philosophers and scientists, men throughout the whole world are working on the mental platform.
You see, sometime on the pretext of becoming devotees also we do like this. What we do? We simply work on the mental platform. And this is the danger. Manarudha. Manoradena asati dhavato bahihi. Very dangerous to do that. Okay, please continue.
Such men are generally non-devotees. Due to not caring for the instructions given by the Lord to the first living creation, Lord Brahma, the Bhagavatam 5.18.12 therefore says, Harava abhaktasya kuto mahadguna, manorathena asyati dhavato bahi. One who acts on the mental platform has to change his standard of knowledge periodically.
What he has to do? He has to change the standard of knowledge periodically. That's what is happening. And we are trying to, very clearly we can see that this is what is happening also with many devotees in ISKCON, that they are trying to stay in the standard of knowledge periodically. Okay, now this will not work. Let us make it like this. Now this will not work. Let us make it like this. And they keep changing the standard of knowledge according to mental speculation.
The mental conditions are described in this verse as guna pravaha, the flowing of the three modes of material nature. Nashta pragya means one who has no perfect knowledge. One who does not have perfect knowledge has only mental speculation. By transgressing the laws laid down in the Shastras, one cannot become pure in heart. When one's heart is not purified, one acts according to the three material modes of nature.
So, Kapil Dev has explained that even devotees are subject to this. That there is bhakti in mode of ignorance, bhakti in mode of passion, and bhakti in mode of goodness. So, devotees are also subject to this. They're not. We should not think that just because we have taken up devotional service, we are chanting 16 rounds, following regulatory principles, we are free from this. We can also get affected by the three modes, and then we can also become victim of mental speculation and changing standards. So when Pranjana was hunting in this way, many animals within the forest lost their lives in great pain, being pierced by sharp arrowhead. Upon seeing these devastating and ghastly activities performed by the king, all people who are merciful by nature became very unhappy. Such merciful people could not tolerate seeing all this killing. Okay, please read.
Hunting women, drinking different types of liquor, becoming intoxicated, killing animals, and enjoying sex all serve as the basis of modern civilization. Vaishnavas are unhappy to see such a situation in the world, and therefore they are very busy spreading the Krishna consciousness movement.
So the Krishna conscious movement is meant to remedy this. It's not meant to give some legal platform for doing these things. Hunting women or intoxicating. We are not meant to provide some legal platform for doing these things. We are meant to remove these things. We are meant to remove this base mentality from the people. So therefore, we have to see that our presentation of Krishna consciousness, it matches this kind of requirements. We cannot say that, okay, you do whatever you want, still we'll consider you as devotee, and then we'll keep you as devotees. Okay. We cannot say those things. So we have to tell them that, okay, you can chant Hare Krishna. No, everybody can chant Hare Krishna. Nobody can be restricted from chanting Hare Krishna. Everybody can chant Hare Krishna. But if you want to go back home, back to Godhead, then you should also understand that you should live to a certain standard. And that standard, if you don't follow, then it is difficult for you to progress in Krishna consciousness.
The conclusion is that one who does not care for the instruction of saintly persons like Narada and his disciplic succession surely falls into the category of Nashta Pragya and thus goes to hell.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Please read.
In this Krishna consciousness movement, such persons can come to a sense of understanding things as they are and abandon the four principles of prohibited activities, namely illicit sex life, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. This is the beginning of religious life. Religious life and sinful activity cannot parallel one another.
Very simple, straightforward understanding. What is that? Religious life and sinful activity cannot parallel one another. That's it. It's a very, very simple understanding. We are coming to Krishna consciousness to bring religious life and to stop sinful activity. We should not make Krishna consciousness as the reason for doing sinful activity. Then what happens? There is one statement. What is statement? Every day morning we say. What is that? To commit sinful activity on the strength of the holy name of the Lord. And what kind of offense it is? The most serious offense. So you should be careful. Okay, please read.
At the present, the whole world is on the verge of retiring from a blind materialistic civilization, which may be likened to hunting animals in the forest. People should take advantage of this Krishna consciousness movement and leave their troublesome life of killing. The conclusion is that killers should retire from killing business and take to this Krishna consciousness movement to make life perfect. Therefore, the perfect course is to retire altogether from sinful activities and take up Krishna consciousness. In this way, one can become completely perfect and go back home, back to Godhead.
Okay, so now he came back, and then from his hunting, he came back. He was very tired. He took nice bath, and then he took appropriate rest. Then he also took his dinner, and then he decorated himself very nicely, and he started searching for his wife. Now, Prabhupada actually takes this whole explanation on the track of Krishna consciousness. We are actually talking about three tracks. One track is the dealing between man and woman. Second track is the dealing of a conditioned soul in his conditioned life. The third track is Krishna conscious track. Prabhupada takes this entire explanation on Krishna conscious track. Very nicely he gives explanation. Okay, please read.
When a person comes to his senses and understands how he is engaging in sinful activities, he returns to his conscience, which is herein figuratively described as the palace. According to Vedic civilization, such retirement is positively recommended, and this portion of life is called Vanaprastha. Retirement is absolutely necessary for a materialist who want to become free from activities of a sinful life. King Puranjana's coming home, taking bath, and having an appropriate dinner indicates that a materialistic person must retire from sinful activities and become purified by accepting spiritual master and hearing from him about the values of life.
So sometimes the conditioned soul is taken over by mode of ignorance and mode of passion. And sometimes the conditioned soul becomes sober in mode of goodness. So this activity of Puranjana, coming back and then taking bath and decorating himself, can be considered as a influence of mode of goodness in one sense, or in other sense, it can be considered as the nature of the soul who gets purified by the association of the spiritual master, that he gives up sinful activity and then he becomes properly situated in Krishna consciousness. It can be considered in both ways. Later we will see that Puranjana, he went to his wife, he was searching for his wife, and Prabhupada compares the Puranjana search for his wife to the soul searching for a spiritual master. But when Puranjana searches for his wife, then he simply wants to have sex with her. And he wants to increase his family. So then that is compared to the mode of passion taking over mode of goodness. Sometime mode of goodness is there, sometime mode of passion is there, sometime mode of ignorance is there. Now the hunting is compared to mode of ignorance. Now mode of goodness has taken over. So now he is taken bath, he is very clean, he is going to find his wife, etc. But the moment he sees his wife, then he wants to have sex. Then that means that is mode of passion. So this way, the living entity, he becomes influenced by the three modes continuously. Sometime mode of ignorance, sometime mode of passion, sometime mode of goodness. When he is in mode of goodness, then he feels some happiness. When he's in mode of passion, he feels some satisfaction. When he's in mode of ignorance, he feels some illusion. So this way the conditioned life is going on. So these two tracks can be seen. And generally in man-woman interaction, we can see that a man goes away from his wife and he tries to enjoy. And when he comes back, he finds his wife morose. He tries to then speak some very nice words to his wife. And the wife also become very agreeable to him. And then simply they engage in sex life. Simply they engage in sex life. So it's just going on like this. Okay.
Uchita ahara. One must eat appropriately and not take after food as hogs take after stool. One should not indulge in eating food in the modes of passion and ignorance. This is called Uchita ahara or appropriate eating. King Puranjana returning home is indicative of man's returning to his original consciousness, known as Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is absolutely necessary for one who has committed a lot of sinful activities, especially killing animals or hunting in the forest.
Yeah. So this is the line of description which Prabhupada continuously gives. Yeah. Like hog eats stool, but we know that stool is not an appropriate food. No, stool is not meant to be eaten. It's a refuse. Okay, but because hog is in ignorance, it eats stool. But a human being is not supposed to eat like that. So there is food in mode of goodness, there's food in mode of passion, there's food in mode of ignorance, and then there is transcendental food. Okay. We are supposed to take transcendental food, not even food in mode of goodness. Just being mode of goodness is not good enough for us. It should also be offered to Krishna. So that's what we are supposed to take. So if we don't take that, then what happens? Then we take food in mode of passion and ignorance. And sometimes Prabhupada later says that it's not good for a neophyte devotee to overeat also. Later Prabhupada says this, that even if it is prasadam, it's not good for a neophyte devotee to overeat, because then the fault of atyahara arises. Now, when the fault of atyahara arises, then control of senses is lost. So then it becomes a problem. So generally, I think brahmacharis, you all know, you have eating restriction. Don't eat too much sweet. Don't eat sweet at night. Because these are all not good for brahmachari life. Don't eat heavy meal at the night. So these things, so many things are there. Why? Because every person has a lifestyle, and then they're supposed to follow that lifestyle. And according to the lifestyle, they should eat. And same way, brahmachari should not eat. Generally, she should avoid, eating food which is cooked by unmarried woman. It's not good for brahmachari to eat food which is cooked by unmarried woman. She may have some feelings, and the feelings can get mixed in the food. And if he eats the food, and it may go to his consciousness, and then he may have some feelings. So it will all become too much complication. It's good for brahmachari not to eat food which is cooked by unmarried woman. So like that, there are some restrictions of what one should eat and what one should not eat. One should simply follow that. Like a second initiated devotees generally should be very careful of not eating outside. They should not go and eat in anybody's house because they are considered to be brahmanas. So if you go and eat in anybody's house, they will get all their karma. So they should also be restricted in going and eating. They should make sure that the food is cooked by proper person. That whenever they are eating, whether they are brahmachari, grahastha, whoever it is, they should just make sure that when they are going and eating in some place, they should make sure that the food is cooked by proper person, it is offered nicely, then only they should take. If they take from wherever they are taking, it all creates so much problem. You should be very careful with food. Generally, very, very careful with food. It's just English. Just English.
When a
Okay.
man,
Yeah, please.
when a man comes into good consciousness and accepts a saintly person as a spiritual master, he hears many Vedic instructions in the form of philosophy, stories, narrations about great devotees, and transactions between God and his devotees. In this way, a man becomes refreshed in mind, exactly like a person who smears scented sandalwood pulp all over his body and decorates himself with ornaments. These decorations may be compared to knowledge of religion and the self. The word sadhva alankrita used in this verse indicates that one must be absorbed in knowledge gathered from the instructions of saintly persons. Just as King Puranjan began to search out his better half, the queen, one who is decorated with knowledge and instructions from saintly persons should try to search out his original consciousness, Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. So as I said that Prabhupada is following the whole thread of Krishna consciousness in this explanation.
Satvika ahar foodstuffs in the mode of goodness are described in the Shastras as wheat, rice, vegetables, fruits, milk, sugar, and milk products. Simple food like rice, dal, chapatis, vegetables, milk, and sugar constitute a balanced diet. It is clearly visible that when a neophyte in Krishna consciousness eats too much, he falls down.
So Prabhupada gives that warning that we should not eat too much also. So a so-called brahmachari becomes agitated by woman, and the vanaprastha may again get captivated into having sex with his wife, or he may search out another wife. This is all fault of overeating. Due to some sentiment, he may give up his own wife and become into association of devotees and spiritual master, but due to past sinful activity, he cannot stay. Instead of being elevated in Krishna consciousness, he is fall down, attracted by Cupid, and takes another wife for sense enjoyment. So we should be careful for the fault of overeating, because the fault of overeating can cause all these dangers. It can cause all these dangers. So we should be mita bhuk. Mita bhuk means that one who eats according to what is needed. That's called mita bhuk. We have the instruction in Bhagavad Gita, yuktahara viharasya, yukta chetasya karmasu, yukta swapna bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkaha. So one who comes to Krishna consciousness must be very cautious and refrain from prohibited activities as defined by Rupa Goswami. Atyahara prayasascha, prajalpo niyama graha, janasangascha laulyam cha, shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. A neophyte devotee should not eat too much or collect more money than necessary. Eating too much or collecting more money than necessary is called atyahara. Anyway. So we should be careful even in the eating process. Once in a while, it's okay. Some feast is there, to eat nicely. It's okay. But generally, overeating should be avoided. For everybody, generally overeating should be avoided. Okay, please read.
If one always think of Krishna, feels how to serve him, and wills to execute the order of Krishna, it should be known that he has taken good instruction from his intelligence, which is called the mother.
Hmm.
If a person has neither a mother nor a pleasing wife at home, he should leave home and go to the forest, because for him there is no difference between the forest and home.
Hmm.
In other words, it is essential that one have both a good mother and wife in order to become perfectly happy at home. Otherwise, home life has no meaning. Unless one is religiously guided by intelligence and renders devotional service under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his home can never become very pleasing to a saintly person. A man has good mother or good wife, there is no need of his taking sannyas. That is, unless it is absolutely necessary as it was for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Because in Kali Yuga, it's not that everybody can maintain sannyasa ashram. So therefore, unless it is required, absolutely necessary, one need not take sannyas. One can become vanaprastha and he can live vanaprastha life. If he's a grahastha. If he's a brahmachari, he can remain Naishtika brahmachari. Generally, Naishtika brahmacharis are good candidates to take sannyas because they have remained as Naishtika brahmachari and they have seen the ups and downs of their body requirements. So they are generally good candidates to take sannyas and they should be encouraged to take sannyas. They should take sannyas and they should do what they have to do. Mostly grahasthas should be satisfied as vanaprasthas. Exceptionally, some of them might take sannyas if it is necessary, that they may take sannyas. So, the point which Prabhupada makes is that home means that one should have wife and one should have mother, means one should have some family. So that makes home. Otherwise, one should remain brahmachari. Sometimes we also see this, that a person doesn't want to get married and then he doesn't want to also submit himself to the ashram. They try to live outside and they are not married also. It's all very dangerous. Neither brahmachari nor grahastha. Sometimes some people say brahmahasta. Is neither brahmachari nor grahastha. Either they should identify themselves as brahmachari. They should surrender to the movement. Whatever the movement does, okay, little bit more, little bit less. You be happy, you be satisfied. Whatever your seniors give you service, you do your service. You do your sadhan bhajan. Remain as brahmachari, be satisfied. Or you think I am very independent minded. I cannot remain in ashram. I need to have my own kingdom. Okay, become grahastha and live grahastha life. Experience what kingdom means. Get kicked in all sides. And then have some experience and become vanaprastha. So clarity in ashram should be there. One should not live mixed ashram. One should not live mixed ashram. Sometimes devotees are like that. I met one devotee. He doesn't want to get married. Okay, want to surrender to the ashram. He said, no, I don't want to surrender to the ashram. Why? There's too much restriction in the ashram. I told him at the age of 45, you will get into illicit sex if you are like this. Either you surrender to the ashram or you get married. It's very dangerous to go around like this, thinking that I will not surrender to the ashram, I will not get married also. End of the day, that fellow will end up in illicit sex. Of course, he became very angry with me. What to do? What to do? But this fact, no, sometimes you have to tell people that what they don't want to hear. Naturally, they'll become angry. Prabhupada says that if you instruct a fool, he will become angry. So you can't do anything. You have to accept these things. Okay, now he is looking for his wife. Okay, please read.
There is no difference between a good wife and good intelligence.
This is for grahasthas, not for you. You have enough intelligence. You don't need a wife for intelligence. Okay.
But if one gets a chaste wife accepted through a religious marriage ritual, she can be of great help when one is threatened by the many dangerous situations of life. Actually, such a wife can become the source of all good intelligence. With such a good wife, the family's engagement in the devotional service of the Lord actually makes a home a grahasthashram, or household dedicated to spiritual cultivation.
Yeah, this all instruction meant for grahasthas. What Prabhupada says that one should get chaste wife accepted through a religious marriage ritual. See how Prabhupada nicely clarifies this. Prabhupada doesn't say if one gets a wife. Prabhupada doesn't say if one gets a devotee wife. Prabhupada says that one should get a chaste wife. Chaste wife means one who only accepts one man. It's called chaste wife. Accepted through religious marriage ritual. Then she can be of great help when one is threatened by many dangerous situations of life. Otherwise, a wife who is not chaste, who does not live with one man, a man cannot expect many help from her. Short term, it may look very nice that yes, I have a woman in my life and then I am enjoying with her. Short term, it may look very nice, but long term will create so many problems because it's against nature, And I have practically seen this kind of things, people coming with problems with this kind of things. Life is not as easy and simple as it always looks like. Okay.
Just as intelligence is always within the heart, so a beloved chaste wife should always have her place on the chest of a good husband. This is the proper relationship between husband and wife. A wife is therefore called Ardhangini, or half of the body.
Yeah, so there's no need for feminism because Vedic system actually accepts woman as equal to man. But Vedic system says the duty of a woman is different from the duty of a man. She is never told that she is not equal to man. She is called Ardhangini. Ardhangini means the man is incomplete without woman. Prabhupada says that one cannot remain with one leg, one hand, or only one side of the body. He must have two sides. Similarly, according to nature's way, husband and wife should live together. That means they live as equal partners. The whole idea of feminism is a farce. It actually kills the woman's nature and it tells the woman to be like a man. So that's an insult to woman. So why she should be like a man? She has her own natural glory and she is glorious the way she is. And she is equal half. When she gets married to a man, she becomes equal half of that man. She is Ardhangini. So it's not that only feminism has taught a woman that you are equal to man. The concept of woman is equal to man is ingrained in Vedic literature. But the equality is not in the sense of woman should do the man's duties. It is in the sense of she complements the man so that the man and woman become one complete unit. In that sense, she is equal to man. So somehow, because Prabhupada says that women can be misguided, and unscrupulous men are very expert in misguiding women. So because they want to enjoy women. So therefore, we can see that in Kali Yuga, there's so much of disturbance. Women think that that giving up their duties and accepting man's duty is freedom. So this is the problem. So of course, like Mataji asked, then what to do? You can't change everything overnight. You can't like switch on and switch off. It has to be a process. It's just a process of education, process of preaching, process of making women understand her own glory, that what she is by nature glorious, and she need not consider herself to be anyway insufficient if she does her duties nicely. All these things have to be slowly, it has to be ingrained. And the best way to do it is to start with a whole generation that train young girls from very beginning, from the age of 6, 7, 8. We train girls like that, then the girls will automatically get trained nicely like that. They always automatically think like that. One devotee, one Mataji, she was teaching in SMIS. I'm talking about this at least about 7, 8, 5 years back. She was teaching in SMIS. And she was teaching Shastra in SMIS, is Mayapur International School. She was teaching Shastra to girls. And all the girls were like teenagers and pre-teenagers in her class, like 12, 11, 13, 14, like that. And she had a nice discussion in the class for almost 2-3 weeks about getting married early. Okay. At the end of the discussion, almost all girls agreed to her that yes, we should get married early. We all like to get married early. So then she told that please go and tell your parents that this is your conclusion, that you want to get married early. So the girls came and told their parents. They told the parents, we had a nice Shastra discussion in the class. All of us agree that we want to get married early. About 70% of the parents came to the school and created ruckus. We are talking about devotee parents. Huh? Because in international school, only devotee kids are there. They created ruckus. They said, what kind of thing your teacher is teaching to my child? Now my child is telling that I want to get married at the age of 18. What is that you are teaching to the child? The teacher asked, what is the problem? She's supposed to get married at the age of 18. Prabhupada is saying that, no. 90% of the time, the problem lies with the parents. We blame society, we blame this, we blame that, we blame so many things. 90% of the time, the problem lies with the parents. The parents train their girls in such a way that the girls get clear idea as to what they want to do. That they get trained like that. If parents train the girls from beginning saying that you should get married early and you should live with your husband, and okay, whatever you want to do, you're naturally talented to do something, you can do after marriage, no problem. Then girls will agree, it's not a problem. But the parents have to train. Most of the time, the mental block is with the parents. It's not with the girls or the boys. Okay, please read.
Due to neglecting one's good intelligence of or Krishna consciousness, one becomes bewildered and engages in sinful activities.
So why does one engage in sinful activity? Because one neglects good intelligence. One neglects good intelligence, and then one takes bad conclusion, and then he enters into sinful activity. Janya sunya visha khainu. Even Kulasekar Alvar says, what he says? Ascharya hi estat manisha loke sudam parityajya visham pibanti namani narayana gocharani tektva kuhakaha anyadvacha patanti. He says that is very surprising that you can give up nectar and you can drink poison. All acharyas are telling the same thing. That one acharya of Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharya, other acharya is Shiva Vaishnava Acharya. Both of them are talking about same thing, because this is the mentality of the materialistic mind. The materialistic mind knowingly drinks poison. Knowingly drinks poison. So that's what Arjuna is also discussing with Krishna. He is saying that Atakkena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshneya balaniva niyojitaha. That he knows, the fellow knows that I'm not supposed to do this, but still he does it. Why? Kama yesha krodha yesha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma vidyena miha. We all know this. We all have memorized the entire shloka. Very expert. You know everything. Okay. So the king tries to pacify her. So when the king tries to pacify her, Prabhupada actually compares this process of the king trying to pacify the queen to the process of a man giving up sinful activities and giving up ignorance. Okay. So how did he flatter? He first touched her feet. So then he embraced her, then he put her on the lap, then he spoke nice words to her. Okay. Okay, please read.
As King Puranjana began to flatter his queen, one should, by deliberate consideration, raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness. To attain such an end, one must touch the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Krishna consciousness cannot be achieved by self-endeavor. One must therefore approach a self-realized Krishna conscious person and touch his lotus feet.
Touch his lotus feet. So one should take up the shelter of the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Of course, there's also another line, which is the line of a man dealing with woman. So how to pacify a woman who is very angry? Go and touch her feet, and then try to embrace her and try to put her on the lap and speak nice words to her. It's all man-woman business. So he is doing the same thing, and he is speaking very nicely to her. Okay, so Prabhupada actually compares Puranjana's express of regret to the express of regret of the spirit soul to the spiritual master. So he takes a completely different route. Okay. Please read.
King Puranjana accepted the punishment as actual love and affection from his wife. In the same way, when a person is punished by the laws of nature, by the will of God, he should not be disturbed. A real devotee thinks in this way.
Tattena kampam shishamikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam kridvak vapubhir vidadhan namaste jivetayo muktipade sadaya bhat. Very important shloka. Probably one of the most important shlokas in Krishna consciousness. Anybody who wants to become devotee, they should try to understand the import of this shloka, because this is the beginning of devotional service. So there is change of heart. What is the change of heart? This is the change of heart. The living entity's heart is very hard because he is always looking outside for blaming someone for his distress. Whenever he gets distress, he always looks for reason outside. He says, oh, my wife is miserable. She is a lousy lady. That's why I have given up my wife. Or he says, my husband is miserable man. I have given up my husband. Whatever. Always you find the fault outside. Always find the fault outside. And because of that, the heart is very, very hard. But when one internalizes and then understands that by one's own defect, one has accepted this material body, which he should not have accepted. Rishabhadev says, na sadhu manye. Actually, the soul should not have accepted a material body. That is a fact. The soul should not have accepted a material body. But because we accepted material body, then we have to go through so much of distress, so much of distress. If you carefully consider that how much of distress and confusion we are going through, simply because we accepted material body. We are not supposed to accept material body. Soul is Sachidananda Vigraha. Body is Asat, Achit, Nirananda, Nirvigraha. Completely opposite to the soul. And still we have accepted it. And that is the cause of everything. Sometimes people think, especially when devotees are in distress, you can see that they always think that what comes to the body is a problem. When devotees are in distress and when they are in mental platform, they always think what comes to the body is the problem. They never understand that what comes to the body is not a problem. The body is the problem. Accepting the body is the problem. You always think that what comes to the body is a problem. Oh, corona is a problem. Corona is not a problem, Baba. You accepted material body. That's why you are susceptible to corona. So accepting material body is the problem. Corona itself is not the problem. But what we say, we go and blame the virus. You corona, rascal, you are the problem. That's also another soul. He has accepted another body of virus and he is doing his job. He is not thinking, oh, this is my enemy, I should kill him. Coronavirus thinking like that. That this fellow is my enemy, I should go and attack him and kill him. No. That soul, like any other soul, is simply struggling for his own survival. And we think that corona is a problem. What corona is a problem? We accepted body, that is the problem. So corona is problem, husband is problem, wife is problem, neighbor is problem, management is problem, GBC is problem, temple president problem, roommate problem, millions of problem. But what is actual problem? You fellow, you are a spirit soul, you accepted material body, that is the problem. So when we understand this, and when we try to analyze all the problems we face from this perspective, that body itself is not the problem, mind itself is not the problem, that we accepted body and mind is the problem, then we will not blame anyone. Then we will not blame anyone. We'll simply become very, very sadhu.
Such anger is compared to the poison of a serpent. For when a serpent is fed milk and bananas, its poisons actually increases. Instead of becoming merciful or sober, the serpent increases its poisonous venom when fed nice foodstuff. Similarly, when a fool is instructed, he does not rectify himself, but actually becomes angry.
Yeah, we are discussing this now. If you instruct a fool, he'll always become angry. So it's very dangerous stuff. But still we have to do it because that is our job. Our job is to face that anger. We should just face that anger nicely. So he is speaking very elaborately to his wife. Your teeth is very beautiful. You are very thoughtful. Your smile is very beautiful. Your hair is very nice. Your nose is very nice. Your talk is very sweet. All these things he speaks. So Prabhupada actually gives the story of a prince who wanted to marry a very beautiful woman. And then she said that, okay, you come after 1 week, I will give you the beauty in a pot. Look at beauty. So he came after 1 week, he found her to be miserable. He said, where is that beautiful woman I saw? She said, I am the same one. What happened to your beauty? It is in a pot. Where is that pot? Okay, take this. Oh, this pot is stinking. What is there in this? Only blood, mucus, and puke and stool. This is what you consider as beauty. Is there. Look at beauty. Take it. Drink it. So, when a man becomes so King Puranjana begged his queen to become original beauty. So Prabhupada compares it to the soul coming to original Krishna consciousness. Please read.
He tried to revive her just as a living entity tries to revive his original consciousness, Krishna consciousness, which is very beautiful. All the beautiful features of the queen could be compared to the beautiful features of Krishna consciousness. When one returns to the original Krishna consciousness, he actually becomes steady and his life becomes successful.
Yeah. Okay, please read.
The conclusion is that if Krishna consciousness is covered by material sins, one can eliminate the sins simply by chanting Hare Krishna mantra.
But if one pollutes his Krishna consciousness by offending Brahmanas or Vaishnavas, one cannot revive it until one properly atones for the sin by pleasing the offender Vaishnava or Brahmana. A Vaishnava aparad cannot be atoned for by any means other than by begging pardon of the offended Vaishnava.
Yeah, so we have to be very careful not to offend Vaishnavas because they are the source of our devotion. And if we offend them, then we are removing the source of devotion. Source is getting cut off.
A woman generally becomes very attractive when her lips are colored with a reddish saffron or vermilion. But when one's consciousness and intelligence are without any brilliant thoughts about Krishna, they become morose and lusterless, so much so that one cannot derive any benefit despite sharp intelligence.
Yeah. So the adornment of the wife is actually compared to the Krishna conscious intelligence.
Women in general always keep themselves beautiful so that they can be attractive to their lusty husbands. When a lusty husband comes before his wife, the wife takes advantage of his aggressive activities and enjoys life. Generally, when a woman is attacked by a man, whether her husband or some other man, she enjoys the attack, being too lusty. In other words, when one's intelligence is properly utilized, both the intellect and the intelligent person enjoy one another with great satisfaction.
Yeah. So when the intelligence is properly utilized, then there is satisfaction. But when it is improperly utilized, then there is dissatisfaction. The actual happiness of karmis is sex life. So they work very hard for sex life. So this brings us to the end of our chapter, which is Puranjana going for hunting and then coming back and convincing his wife. So there are again 3 lines going here. One line is that Puranjana goes for hunting and then he comes back and he convinces his wife. This is man-woman dealing. In man-woman dealing, a man abandons his wife and then he tries to go for some other enjoyment. And then when he comes back, then he somehow tries to convince his wife because his wife is ready to give him all sorts of enjoyment, but she is disturbed. So in order to convince the disturbed woman, he does so many things and he speaks so many words to her. He touches her feet, he embraces her, he keeps her in the lap, and he speaks so many words to her saying that, oh, you are beautiful, you are like this, you are like that, your eyes are like star, your face is like moon, and that, do something he speaks. And then the woman also get convinced, and then they both have sex life. So this is one thread which is going. The other thread which is going is that the living entity, due to the influence of mode of ignorance, he goes and then he does sinful activity. But when mode of passion comes, when mode of goodness comes back, then he gives up the sinful activity and then he tries to remain peaceful. But he cannot remain peaceful because mode of goodness is also overcome by mode of passion. So when mode of passion overcomes, he becomes very disturbed and then he tries to find enjoyment and then he runs here and there to find enjoyment. And he becomes only happy when he can find that enjoyment, and when he can do that enjoyment, he gets some sort of satisfaction. And then again he goes into mode of ignorance. So this cycle of the influence of the 3 modes is continuing, giving him an illusion that he is an enjoyer. So that is a second parallel track. The third parallel track, which Prabhupada explains, is that when the living entity, he gives up his sinful desire, his materialistic way of life, and comes back to Krishna consciousness, surrenders to the spiritual master, touches his lotus feet, take the dust of the lotus feet of the spiritual master to his head, and he tries to be acceptable to the spiritual master. When he tries to make his behavior in a way such that he becomes acceptable to the spiritual master. It is said that Vetattam Saumyatat Sarvam Tatvatastat Anugrahat Bruyu Snigdasya Sishyasya Guravo Guhyam Apiuta. That one should become Snigda Sishya. Snigda Sishya means that a disciple who is very much acceptable to the spiritual master. So when he tries to become like that, then the spiritual master gives his mercy unlimitedly to the disciple. Baravo guhyam apiyuta. Just like here, the wife is becoming ready to give unlimited enjoyment to the husband. Same way, the spiritual master, when the disciple, when he becomes acceptable to him, then the spiritual master he can reveal the secret of Krishna consciousness to him. So that's the parallel thread. Then the intelligence become purified. It looks very beautiful. The purified intelligence looks very nice in Krishna consciousness, and the original beauty of Krishna consciousness comes up. And when that original beauty of Krishna consciousness arises in pure Krishna conscious intelligence, then all the activities in devotional service become very enjoyable. Like the man and woman enjoying with each other, all the activities become enjoyable. So these are three parallel threads which run in this chapter. Okay, so we'll stop here, and we will assemble tomorrow, and hopefully we'll cover 2 more chapters tomorrow, where Puranjana will die, and then he will be born again. He'll die and then he'll be born again. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your tolerance. And I wish